out what you're going to do with your life, as a kinesiology major, there's not too many lucrative options, and they actually really deterred us away from becoming a personal trainer. They said the salary was awful. It was a big grind. And so I had found occupational therapy. And in certain sectors of occupational therapy, there's some physical therapy components in upper extremity. And so I kind of worked through my undergrad. I finished softball. I was actually really, really down once college ball was over. You go through your whole life, you have this identity, and it's just kind of taken away really quickly. And so I actually fell into personal training before I went off to occupational therapy school. And a few of the trainers that were there, super great at mentoring me. And they told me, they're like, you really have an act, like you should try bodybuilding. And I wasn't totally there yet. And then I got into OT school, and I kind of missed having some sort of athletics in my schooling with it. Just, it always helped me. And so I decided, 10 weeks out from a show, to enter my first bodybuilding competition. And I won the whole thing, and I was hooked. So that kind of really sparked it. And I've loved it ever since.
Yeah, I know a lot of young ladies who get into this sport from an athletic background, be it track, gym, basketball, wrestling, it's just bodybuilding can really, for a lot of competitors who get out of that lifestyle of being competitive in high school and college, it's something that gives you, motivation to keep up with the fitness lifestyle. And kinesiology, I was studying massage therapy, and that's part of the curriculum at I was going at. And it's good that you found something that really drive your passion, especially education.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing. When I was 16, my parents sat me down for dinner and were like, hey, so what do you want to do with your life? I literally was like, well, I want to be happy. Like, I want to do what I love. And my parents told me, they're like, hey, you can't major in softball. Like, you need to have a career. And it's been so special to be able to kind of marry bodybuilding with my career. I'm super, super lucky.
Yeah, that's it. Because bodybuilding is a very tough sport. The work,
Hmm.
consistency, everything involved in it. Especially for women. I think society looks at it because it's so extreme, and the idea of women gaining muscle and building muscle, it's just kind of, it offends the everyday person. But as you know, one of my things is I have a crime. I want to admit it. I'm a muscle person. Smo. Just love y'all ladies. Y'all excite me. See, the other guy can come out, but that's him. Well, here we
Oh,
get
yeah.
somebody here. Shout out to my man KLA the Wanderer. We just did a podcast this afternoon. He says, "Good evening, good evening to you, brother." Also, he want to ask you a question. Says, would you be my Valentine, Eleni? I'm joking. No, you're not. I know you're not joking. He
Oh,
is a,
sorry. I'm super, super sorry. I'm already taken. Thank you. I'm super, super flattered.
don't apologize to him for that. He just he's a fan. He's a small like me, but he don't want to admit it. He got to stay in a couple. So now, what was that experience like for you in that first show?
Well, it was honestly really chill. It was 10 minutes down the road from my house. It's kind of nice when you're doing your first show because you're kind of the new kid on the block. So no one really knows you. You don't know what to look for on social media. Like, I mean, I didn't know what competitors to look for. Like, I had truly no comparison besides like myself. And you know, especially, at least I hope your first show, you don't ever see yourself that lean or that conditioned. And so I honestly, that was probably my funnest show because I had nothing to compare it to. I got really lean, and it just was super fun. I think the timing, like, of the 10-ish hours before stage time was really difficult for me, or like the 2 hours leading up, because I did not understand why I needed to shove a glob of, jelly and salt in my mouth and then start like pumping up. So it just kind of was like a really, it was really fun. That was probably my favorite show I ever did.
Yeah, I heard your story. Some, especially you got to think about it. You got to be on this stage, and this bright light set. You got the judge in front of you, judging you, see what you're gonna bring. Then some get nervous. I had one lady told me that one time her first show she got a little tipsy when she got on stage, everybody's experience is different. But like I said, you've been on a big stage, you competed in sports, and you're used to having people pay attention to you. Most people are not used to that because it's something different. And bodybuilding is very different, especially from the standpoint from an everyday person. Like one thing is when we go to the shows, we go see y'all on stage. We don't understand what took you get there. There's so much work involved with it. The diets, the consistency, the training. I mean, it's not as easy as most people think. Here we got a comment from a man. Shout out to my man K. Ellie says, I know you must get a lot of guys approaching you as a bodybuilder. So, what's that like? If everybody, when you're out and about, you ever have people ask you questions or just curious about what you do? Because, most everyday person don't know anything much about bodybuilding.
Usually so in my profession, so I'm a hand therapist. So it's usually patients that, notice and they'll say something and they're like, wow, that must be really hard. And, well, yeah, putting on tissue, and that part for me is more hard than the actual like prep. But for me having that like Division I college athlete background, being regimented, honestly, is like what helps me feel complete, and kind of takes any sort of anxiety away. Like I know exactly what I'm going to eat at exactly what time. I know exactly when I'm going to do this. I know exactly when I'm going to do that. So for me, usually when people are approaching me, I'm telling them it's honestly really liberating, as much as it seems restrictive. Because it gives me just a sense of like comfort that I know like what's coming throughout the day.
Yeah, there's so much involved in it. And people have to be open minded too, because I've been following sport for a long time, and I've seen how it's evolved and changed and grow. The divisions are added on to it, competitors here and there. I'm a fan of it. Like you said, like one thing you try to compare yourself to, like who's that person that you, especially as a bodybuilder, you follow that you say, wow, this is somebody that really I admire. Just the pinnacle of what our sport is.
When we kind of made the last minute call to do women's physique, it was super funny. My coach Justin Jacoby mentioned it like the morning before check-in, so it was literally less than 24 hours before the show. And he's like, "Let's do women's physique," and I'm like, "Absolutely not. There's no way I'm gonna learn like new poses in a few hours." And I went back to my hotel room, sat there and did some research, and I looked at Brooke Walker because I feel like her and I, from a height standpoint, have very similar structure. So for me, and I know she's not been recently competing at all, but for me, she's someone who I always looked at a lot from a women's physique standpoint. I think someone who's really great and I love watching as well as Rachel Daniels. She's just, her posing is just insane. And she's just got, everyone talks about as males like the flow. She's got that female flow that's just so beautiful and powerful. So those are pretty much the two I've always kind of watched and tried to like, hey, these are people with similar body types to me, similar work ethics, similar personalities. Um, so they're two competitors I've always really looked at.
Yeah, Brooke has been a top five competitor in the Olympics the last couple of years. She took a step back after her last placing. Rachel, we had seen her compete since I think 2022. I'm seeing some pictures here and of her. Look like she might be getting ready for
She
this
looks
year.
insane. I hope she is. I'm really excited to see her on stage again.
Yeah, I remember I saw a picture of her at it was the class, and I think one of her clients was a lady named Tracy Jones, and they were standing together. And even though she was in her, she was dressed, she was wearing a pair of shorts, her quads would kill her. I mean, she
Yeah,
has a
and
great style to
absolutely
her.
insane.
Yeah, I think Brooke might be coming back too. She don't know yet. I think she keeps everything close to the vest. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So as a competitor and just competing, you were originally figure, and you mentioned
Yes.
your coach. And how long y'all been together, and why did he tell you that you want to switch to physique?
So Justin Jacoby and I have been working together since March of 2023. Prior to that, him and I were always good friends, and I think what always stood out for me with Justin, obviously he's a talented coach, but he always asked me like, "Hey, like, when are you gonna let me coach you? Like we can do this together." And I think as an athlete and competitor, we're always searching out and reaching out to other coaches, but having a coach like approach me to me meant so much more. And you can tell in his work and his detail that he does really care, and he did want to work with me. I mean, the way he is with me. And so we went through this whole nationals prep. I had such a solid prep to my qualifier, and then 5 weeks after my qualifier were nationals. I was already pretty lean for the qualifier. We were probably like 80% there. And those 5 weeks between my qualifier and nationals, I mean, I just got crazy, crazy peeled. And, we're filling out during peak week, and I'm just getting grainier and grainier. And I think my last pump workout was Wednesday, and I was filming, and I was, just being silly, hitting like side chests and stuff, and like flaring my delts. And I was just grainy and striated. I mean, even my back shot, my glutes were striated. So we're checking in Thursday morning after a meal, and, he's like, hey, do this, and, side chest, hey, do this, hey, hit this ab and thigh. And he's like, let's do women's physique. Like, you are just so peeled, it would be a disservice not to.
Yeah, that's things we say you're peeled, like just cut, like everything's popping, everything's
Yeah.
vascular, just crazy.
Yeah.
I know you probably decided to say, you know what, figures just I don't know, but you still stayed in figure, and that was a good thing too. That's where you get your pro card
Yeah.
there,
And
and then go ahead.
yeah, and I mean, figure to me, I mean, it was my first home, and I just think for me, figure is just, it's such a beautiful division too. I mean, you have to have muscle, but it has to be symmetrical and proportional. But then you have to sit there in heels and do all the poses. Like, so it's it's almost each pro show you're not sure what they're going to shoot for with figure. Do they want the person who's more conditioned? Do they want the more shapely figure gal? So I've always thought figure was just such a grind too. So I'm definitely staying women's physique, but gosh, figure, I love watching figure still.
Yeah, I know some competitors who start out at figure, they love it at first, but then the problem is the high heels. I mean, you get tired after a while.
I'm not going to
You
say I don't
know,
miss those.
I mean, I know one lady. She earned her pro cards as a figure competitor. Said she loved her high heels. She used to be on a treadmill while wearing them. I mean, that's
Oh
dedication.
no. No, that I would break an ankle for sure.